I know, it's so funny. These are normally at 2 o'clock in the afternoon this time. And when we do them, the early ones, people love it, just love it. So I just love that people like will show up
I
no matter
know.
what. They're
It's
starting to kind of catch on a little bit. So
yeah.
it's beautiful. All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Eat and Greet, where we're doing a breakfast eat and greet, at least here in the United States. It's afternoon, though, where you're at. What time is it where you're at?
Oh, it's 2:30 p.m.
So we're
afternoon.
doing a breakfast lunch eat and greet today, which is always beautiful. So hopefully in this next hour and some change, we give you something that was worth the time you took to show up this morning. And I'm pumped because we're going to have a topic over here today that I don't talk about at all. So this is a completely fresh, completely different perspective for us, but also ancient, right? Like the practice of Vedic astrology is ancient. It is built into a culture. It is built into a belief structure. So it has just got some steady, sturdy, long-term, enduring information to provide. And so I'm so excited, Sonal, to have you here. Thank you for coming.
And thank you, Stormy, for having me. Is everything okay with the sound and all that? Yeah.
Yes, and people are saying good morning and hello already. And yeah, no,
Okay.
no eats this morning. I don't even have any snacks this morning. I have like a warm tea with some protein because I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too early.
Okay, so let's get going. Shall I share my screen?
Yes, let's share and let's get to it. And so, what are we talking about today? Can you give us a little preview before you share really quickly? Because I don't know enough about this topic to really
Okay.
say.
Now, the Panchang is a very simple thing. It's nothing but the Indian almanac or the ephemeris from an Indian point of view. And nobody really talks much about it. But the interesting thing is, it has been in use for thousands of years. And the more intriguing and interesting part of it is that people have designed their lives. If you go in India, even today, people look at the Panchanga, which is nothing but the Hindu calendar, and all the festivals, every single thing. We have Diwali coming up now, mid-November, and all the festivals are centered around the Panchang. And so, which is nothing but the interaction and the interplay of the sun and the moon. And there are five key factors that come out of this interplay of the sun and the moon. And and this is even before we have delved into our birth charts. So that is why there is so much stress laid on this, because it's like omnipresent everywhere, and yet it's like taken for granted. And we don't really kind of all, even the Vedic astrologers, they are very eager to get into, okay, let's get into the birth chart and the yogas and all that stuff. But even before we've gone into that, let's focus our attention into like the basic, what is the quality of time that you're born into?
Mm,
you
that's
know or what
beautiful.
sort of because the ancients knew this knowledge, and
So
they have
would
been using it ever since. Yeah.
So would this be similar? Like when I do a reading, I start off first thing with looking at the lunar phase that a person was born under. Is this similar to that in
Yes,
terms of, okay, okay.
very much similar. It's but it goes beyond the lunar phase. Then they split up the lunar phase, and then they have the nakshatras, which is nothing but the fixed stars, which the entire sidereal zodiac rests upon. And this is mapped to the fixed stars, or the nakshatras are mapped towards the dhruva, which is the Polaris star, which is beyond our solar system. So in a way, unlike the tropical zodiac, which is kind of much more to do with the within the bhuloka, within our earthly plane, the sidereal zodiac extends beyond, because the whole zodiac is mapped onto the fixed stars, or the nakshatras. So that's why you get a much more sort of finer delineation of the entire, quality of time, which is nothing but the Panchang, which gives you, which is like the 5 limbs of time.
Brilliant. Okay, just tell us really quickly. How did you get into this? How did you become the astrologer?
I have always been, even when I was in my teens, I come from India, and there it's like you grow up with astrology, you grow up with Jyotish. Like I said, it's omnipresent everywhere. You can't you grow up with Ram Navami, which is the birth of Lord Ram. It's sent Navami is nothing but the ninth day, the ninth tithi, which is like the ninth phase of the moon. And so you literally kind of, it's almost, I would say, embedded into your DNA. But the ironic thing is that because I went into a convent school, and my college education was centered around like computer applications and all that, it's kind of like very westernized, and it took me yeah, it's kind of ironic that it took me out, like, well, in my 30s and 40s, I did my course with the CPA, with Liz Greene's Centre of Psychological Astrology. And it's only after that something just clicked in me. It's like, oh my God. And then I started working with Watkins Books, which is like one of the most famous magical bookstore on the planet, and one of the oldest as well. And it took me, I was forced to look at all the charts. And then I realized that people needed solutions for their multiple issues, Saturn afflictions, Mars afflictions, Rahu, or the North Node of the moon afflictions. People were kind of like, it wasn't just like, you can't just psychologicalize, if there's a word like that, away. You can't kind of say, okay, your mother was terrible, but how does it now affect me? How am I going to deal with my life in the here and now? That is what matters. What can I do to alter my psyche and come to a different pattern of thought process? Essentially, how do I alter my internal mechanism so that my outer world changes? That's really the,
that's the goal.
Yeah,
no matter
exactly.
which style you're getting it in, that's the goal, right? At least in my opinion. Okay. All right. You want to share screen? And I can't wait.
Okay. Let's get it going. There we go. Let me just, oops, sorry, slideshow. Okay, so here we are, Jyotish, the Panchang is sort of part of the Jyotish, and Jyotish is nothing but the study of light. And it's the science of light, and that's where all the knowledge comes from, of all the stars, and it is indeed coming from the Vedas. Now, I'm going to spend about 10 minutes on a little bit of the Vedic cosmology, because I think that is very relevant before we kind of plug through the sort of like the planets and, the positions and things like that. The whole basis of Vedic astrology, which comes from Jyotish, or the Vedanga Jyotish. Vedanga is nothing but an anga, like a limb of Jyotish, and it's coming from the Vedas. And the Vedas, the fundamental principle of the Vedic scriptures is that our entire cosmos is originated from Brahman. There's a center spirit, cosmic spirit, which is called nothing but the Brahman, and it is really the root of where we all come from. It's sort of linked to the Hiranyagarbha, which is the great cosmic golden egg, where the center of it is like a dark fetus embryo and void, but there's it's surrounded by this golden light, and that is where we sort of originated from. And there is a big difference between Brahmanda, which literally means the entire universe. When I talk of the entire universe, I mean there are multiverses, worlds beyond our solar system. And so I think the ancient sages knew of this kind of knowledge, and their main task was to bring down this knowledge for mere mortals, so they could sort of understand and get on the path of knowledge. Now, this concept of the Hiranyagarbha, which is nothing but the golden cosmic egg, comes from the Rig Veda, which is one of the oldest Vedic texts on the planet. It's written in Sanskrit, and we all know Sanskrit is one of the oldest and the most sacred languages that is known to man. So going forward, coming from the egg, it's nothing but the great cosmic spirit is often alluded to, sort of saying it's the Sadashiva or the Narayana. There are multiple names you can call it, but it essentially means the same thing. And the origin of it is nothing but coming from sound. Sound is where Shakti is. Shakti is the feminine counterpart coming from this great cosmic Sadashiva or Narayana. And she's literally a part and parcel of him, or, the entire cosmic consciousness. And that's where the sound comes from. And she manifests through the sound. Again, here we see this is the Saraswati or the Gayatri. She comes in multiple forms. As you are well aware, there are 33 core devtas or gods within the Hindu pantheon, and they all have different varying forms. And it comes to like 33 crores or lakhs and lakhs, but they are essentially, they come from this single Godhead, which is the Brahman, which is also called Narayana or Sadashiva. And they are instrumental in creating all the 14 worlds, 7 worlds above us and 7 worlds below us, which is nothing but the heavens, 7 heavens above and 7 worlds below, which is the Patala, which is the nether regions, where all the great, snakes reside and all the sort of demons reside. So it's a little bit like Christianity, the heavens above and the hells below us. Here again, this is a very beautiful text, Sharda Tilakam, which is on mantras. And here again, we have the Gayatri or the Savitur, who's the giver and who's also called the Shakti. And she's the giver of all the bliss. And she's part of the Purusha, which is nothing but Shiva. And it is all she crosses all sorts of restrictions of Kala, which is time. And she's beyond time and space. And she's the supreme knowledge, giver of all the knowledge. And she dances in the hearts of all the rishis and sages. She's the root of all living beings, resplendent in the electric spark and like a conch that covers the entire universe. So often this is the origin of that. There are various stories which is kind of below the purview of today's thing. We don't have so much time, but basically the origins of Sanskrit language comes from her interplay with Sadashiva or Shiva, her spouse, where she comes from, which is a very interesting story because the Lord Shiva's sort of distress over losing her at some point, losing his sati over some point, gave us the 52 letters or alphabet schemes in Sanskrit, which each of them have a very colossal significance, and they are all related to sound. So we come back to sound, which is absolutely core. The Vedas and the cosmos are very much interlinked. The Vedas are nothing but Shruti, that which is heard. For thousands of years, it was much later that the sages sat down to write. but it was a herd knowledge. That means it was passed down from pupil to pupil through the sages, in a sort of a gurukul or an ashram. And the thing about the sages is that it's beyond our it's kind of beyond the human agency. They were not interested in the fame and in sort of having their name attached to it. There was no sort of like marketing gimmick or anything like that. They had only one sole purpose. Then they knew, the sages, that all our origins, or every single human being on this planet, originates from one sage or the other. And there are the Saptarishi, the 7 sages. And so the sages had only one purpose in mind. That was knowledge, to impart knowledge, so that from hearing the knowledge that they absorbed like a sort of a revelation, they just had to pass it down, and so that human beings could pursue the path of knowledge and gain enlightenment or nirvana. Because let's face it, our life on earth is not exactly, a walk in the park, so to speak.
Little bit challenging, the human experience, huh?
Well, you say little, but look around us. Look what has happened last week, and
Yes.
the attacks on either side. So as they say, we are truly in Kali Yuga, which is the Kali's Yuga. Again, the sages knew of the various sort of yugas, or the big chunks of time which extend into sort of trillion earth years. But coming back to, this is sort of like a typical depiction of the sages. And again, as I mentioned, the Vedic scriptures, Rig Veda, is one of the oldest religious texts on the planet. And some scholars say it's 2000 BC. It's sort of sketchy. People don't know. But what is really remarkable is, till date, it is surviving. And that is, and that's speaks volumes about what they had in mind. They had only they wanted to lead humanity into the sort of like an enlightened age, and that can only come through the pursuing supreme knowledge. That is all. That's their tour de force, really.
Yeah, beautiful. And it makes a lot of sense as to why it's been able to sustain, because there's no attachment to the outcome of it besides passing the work.
Absolutely. And Lord Ganesh, he is the overseer, or he is the deity for our Bhuloka. Bhuloka is our existence on planet Earth. And his sole job was to take whatever the rishis have, sort of their narration. And of course, they gave the great epics Ramayana and Mahabharata. And he was a scribe. He literally sat down and he did not blink. He did not look up, and he continued writing. And that was his sole purpose. And that's why any problems, any obstacles, we want to get good with studying something, we want to pursue a higher course, PhD, anything, Ganesh is the first deity we go to, because he will remove all obstacles of every kind and clean your way through, because he is very duty bound. He is the son of Lord Shiva and Parvati, or Durga, whatever you can call. They come in various forms, but he is the most dutiful son. And because of that, he has almost like a responsibility towards human beings, that anyone who kind of appeases him and looks to him for comfort and for showing the way, he will lead the way and clear your obstacles. So this is a very important iconography within the Indian context. Here now, the Shakti, as I already mentioned, was a core for manifestation, because Lord Shiva, or Sadashiva, or Param Shiva, or Narayana, or infinite consciousness, you can give it any number of names, but essentially it alludes to the single thing, the great cosmic spirit. And this it's akin to like a white light going through a prism and multiplying into various lights for manifestation, and those are the 8 colors of Parashakti or Aditi. And she is the creator of the entire universe. It's interesting. It has to be the feminine to create this Maya Shakti,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now she creates the entire world through the single phoneme. It's the Om sound. They have taken, the NASA researchers have done a sort of the sound of the sun through the solar flares, and they often feel that after the recording, it sounded like this Om chanting, which is pretty remarkable. And it is the fundamental sound of the universe, and everything originates from there. And Om, when you say it, it is actually a combination of 3, U, Ma, and we will come to how it maps into the trilogy or the Trimurti, who are our creative forces behind our life on this planet. Again, the Om there's a specific meaning to it. The dot is about consciousness. The Nada is the crescent, is to do with the moon. It's to do with Lord Shiva, and the whole stages, this entire cosmic creation is all the 3 stages. Ma is mapped into this sound of Om. And from this creation comes the 5 elements, the Pancha Tattva. We won't go into the nitty-gritties of how we go into it, because that's kind of will take up a little bit more time. But suffice to say, we have the 5 great elements in the order of Vayu, which is air, Agni, which is fire, Prithvi, which is earth element, Jala, water, and Akash, which is ether. So these are the entire elements which are what human beings are made of, and our entire existence on this planet. Now, here you can see these are the Saptarishis, and they are being moved by the Matsya avatar, the great fish, the great whale fish. And this has a very important sort of significance in the Indian Vedic system, because this great fish is nothing but the Matsya avatar, and who is nothing but like the form of a fish, half human, half divine, and half fish. And that maps into the south node of the moon, or Ketu, and it carries the higher levels of Ketu, the energy of Ketu. And this is the Nakshatras, and these are the Nakshatras reside beyond our solar system. And this is where, when the complete destruction happens, before the golden egg can come about, the earth has a possibility of going through, at various junctures of time, kalpas as they call, complete destruction. And when that happens, the sole purpose of Matsya Avatar is to take all the Saptarishis and put them in a boat and take them towards Dhruva, or Polaris star. That literally is his purpose, so that the knowledge which the rishis have is preserved. Because the rishis, the Saptarishis, or the sages, 7 sages, they have got their direct transmission from Sadashiva, or Lord Shiva, or the great cosmic force. So far, so good.
Yeah, so far so good. I'm so fascinated. I feel like I haven't even had anything to say yet. I'm like, yes, more please.
Okay, this is now the classic Holy Trinity, or the Trimurti, which is like the trilogy, which is also there in the Christian religion, and it's pretty much similar. This is Lord Shiva, and the Rudra form of Lord Shiva is the destruction. Vishnu sustains our universe, and Brahma is the creator. And they all have a feminine counterpart. And of course, they have to have feminine counterpart because everything on this planet is to do with Shakti. I mean, the sound is Shakti, everything is Shakti. Maya Shakti is why we are born, and what appears, everything on our material realm is Maya Shakti. And each of the three murtis have their feminine counterparts. Shiva is Parvati. Now, Parvati has many forms. It's Sati or Durga, and my favorite form is Kali, which is a very diabolical, fierce form, which we will see as we proceed. She is absolutely the most fierce form. It is said of Kali that when Lord Shiva was getting a little bit claustrophobic on his, on Mount Kailash, and he wanted to kind of need a little bit of a break. He was trying, and this is Lord Shiva, who is the master of destruction. He's like the creator of the universe, in a way, and he wanted to kind of go off and do his own thing. And she, Parvati, she sort of went into the Kali mode, and she blocked every directions, all the 8 directions she blocked, all the 10 directions. She took a different form, and the form that she took gave us the great Dasha Mahavidyas, the great knowledge of the 10 great knowledge. And he could not move, that is how, and he had to literally listen. So that is the beauty of Kali. When she goes on a war path, even he cannot control her, which speaks volumes about the feminine power within the Hindu structures, the Hindu cosmology. So that should be quite comforting.
Yeah, I just laugh because I think about it. If you've just been alive long enough to watch the dynamics of male and female energy, when that female energy gets loud enough, the directions stop and go, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Absolutely. So, and Vishnu is Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. Mahalakshmi is like an absolute epitome of, everything to do with abundance and wealth, a wealth of knowledge and wealth of, all the things. Often she's represented by Venus, and so that's Vishnu for you. And Brahma, he's the creator. And Saraswati actually does the creation along with Prajapati. So he is essentially, it is said of Brahma that in one blink of an eye, millions and millions of lifetimes, human lifetimes passed by. That's the kind of time we are talking about Brahma. And his sole job is to keep creating. And Saraswati, his counterpart, she's the giver of all the music and all the learning, the knowledge. That's why in any of the Vedic, whenever we do any kind of spiritual practice, Saraswati is one of the key figures after Ganesh in our existence, because without Saraswati, we will not have any kind of knowledge. That's why Ganesh and Saraswati are absolutely vital. In India, when we often teach children Ganesh sadhana and mantra just before exams, as well as to chant them so that they can practice, and so that they can the knowledge kind of sinks in. And Saraswati is the same, because she is the holder of all the Vedas, as is Brahma. Now here, this is interesting, that our minuscule, how small we are in the grand scheme of the universe or multiverses. Here we see that this is like the Bhuvloka is like the planes between our earthly plane or our solar system to our beyond till the Milky Way, and beyond the Milky Way is the heavens. Milky Way and beyond is the heavens. So when we talk about the sidereal zodiac and the solar system and the planets and their sojourn along the sun, we are essentially mapping it to the fixed stars here, because that's where the fixed stars or the nakshatra resides. They reside in the Swargaloka and beyond, the Milky Way. The Dhruv or the Polaris star, which I'm carrying on and on about, is where the Earth's axis is literally tilting towards. And that is why the use of sidereal zodiac is completely mapped to the nakshatras, and that's why there's a discrepancy because of the wobble of the earth. Because the earth is rotating not just on the axis, but it's on its another sort of little wobbly bit that it's rotating on, and that, which is what gives us the ayanamsha, which is the precession of the equinoxes. And that's why both the zodiac have kind of shifted apart. Currently they are like approximately 23.5 something, 23 degrees 50 minutes. So that's how that's the reason why it is important, because this is kind of built into the cosmology, the sidereal zodiac, and as we progress, we will see how omnipresent it is. Now, when it comes to our soul, what is it that why should the white light of pure consciousness of Sadashiva come on our earthly existence? Why? And these are all the chakras. So we have the capacity to reach these levels of the Milky Way and beyond. But it's only after we destroy ourselves that we can reach. This is the crown chakra, as they call it. Through here, we can reach it. So that is the beauty of this, our creation and our bodies, because each of these chakras, these are like these energy vortexes within our body, and they mean something in the sense they have huge amount of consciousness embedded within them. And that's what the lights are all mapped, and each of the planets are mapped to each of these chakras. And like I said, we are made up of nothing but the 5 great elements, and that's where we come into being. When the white light comes out and sort of divides up into the 7 to 8 colors, and that's when we get all the 5 primary elements, and we are able to come into being. And these 5 elements are, of course, mapped into the planets. The 5 Tara Grahas, as they call it, the 5 main planets, notwithstanding the luminaries, which are nothing but the stars. Now, again, here it's a little bit of a repetition here. The Narayana, the absolute source, going into the trilogy of it. We can have a look at it later, at the end of it. But essentially, I've just covered that. Now, the prime reason why we are here on the planet is it's kind of like the hamster on the wheel. We carry on doing the same thing again and again and again. But that's the Maya Shakti, which is nothing but coming from the sound and the elements, and we kind of disintegrate after 80, 120 years, or whatever our lifespan on earth, and then we sort of are born again and again. And so what is the point of this? It's kind of like the grand illusion. In Buddhism, we call it the nirvana, that is seeking out of this grand illusion. I mean, how boring is it? Millions of years. Think about Brahma. He keeps creating, he keeps churning these creations of his, and in a blink of an eye, some million trillions of human lives have gone past. And so what are we doing in this kind of a scenario? I mean, it's the same thing over and over again. Often it is said that the main pursuit is to do with enlightenment. And to burn off a lot of our karmic sins. And that is the main reason why we are born here on this planet. Now, karma is a big concept in the Hindu the cosmology. The main reason why we are born on this planet is because of it's karmic, as in it's karma, because as I said, millions of lifetimes we will keep doing the same thing unless we get conscious of time, unless we get conscious and consciously pursue our towards higher level of consciousness. We will not come out of this cycle of born again, die, and come out again. At various points, a lot of people have defined time on earth. Often the time, kala, ka, it's made up of two Sanskrit sounds, ka and la, laya and ka, and that alludes to the time. And time, sun is a big player in our time factor. Often when we talk of the summer solstices and winter solstices, which is nothing but depicted by the Uttarayana and the Dakshinayana, where the year is literally in the Vedic scheme divided into two times. That is, from Capricorn up till Cancer is Uttarayana, when the sun is super dominant, and it such draws out the nutrient essence of living beings. While in the latter, moon is predominant, that is in the latter half, that is from Cancer, the 0 degrees of Cancer onto the up till 0 degrees of Capricorn. It's Dakshina Ayana, when the sun starts its sojourn towards, and it's lost some of its sparkle, while the moon takes over and it is predominant and releasing same to them. So it depends. This is a big factor in the time. The time when you are born, it gives you a quality of time. If you're born in this part of the cycle or the Dakshinayana, there's a big difference. Obviously, the sun is very powerful during this time. As we know that the sun exalts in the sign of Aries, and which falls nothing but in April to May by sidereal calendar. The Kala also is the giving us the 5 factors of limitations. To be honest, we are born here, our soul gets split up and goes back to the heavens, or whichever, depending on our karmic remit, where it's, what we have done this lifetime. And again, it comes back to be born again. So again, it will sit in the womb of another mother and another father, another set of circumstances, and away we go. And again, the time, we will come under the domain of time, and which is nothing, and time again is nothing but the unity of Shiva and Shakti, as we have seen previously. And again, the process of creation begins. And we are interested in furthering about understanding our, the nature of time. Why are we born? What are our dominant karmas that we are born into, which is our main focus. Now, again, as I mentioned, we will whisk through this. It's some of the quote from Yajurveda, one of the great Vedas. Again, here we see that the 5 great elements give us, they are nothing but like this subatomic particles or atomic particles forming the tanmatra, giving us, helping us with the creation process, which map into our indriyas or the 5 senses. So again, it's, right now I've just mentioned it, but the pancha tattva or the 5 elements are relevant because they give us the nature or the quality of time. But we won't go too much into it for the moment, because again, that's a separate study altogether. Now, the 3 lokas we have already seen: the Swarga Loka, the Bhuva Loka, which is our earthly existence, Bhuva Loka, which is our, the intermediary plane, and this heavens, which is the Swarga. Now the heavens have the Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra, which we saw, the Trinity, the three Murti, and they have the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday when the creation processes take place. The intermediary is the Mercury, or which is ruled by Wednesday, and the Bhuloka, which is our life here on the planet. Here, the creation, Brahma entrusts it to Prajapati, and Vishnu entrusts it to Vasudev, which is nothing but a form of Vishnu, and Shiva entrusts it to Mrityu, which is Mars. So our creation is by default happens, as in Sunday, which is the ruler, is the sun, gets mapped into the creation. Monday is our existence, what sustains us. The moon sustains us. Everything to do with the moon sustains us, our life on earth here. And Mars is our Mrityu. That is, it creates death. It rules the southern direction, and it's responsible for taking us out of our planet. So in a way, the Bhuloka is ruled by moon, because moon is all about populating, it's all about creating babies and procreation and things like that. And Mars is like, okay, it'll provide all the land and everything. That's why in Vedic we have significance of both. The fourth house is not just the mother and our nurturing, our happiness and things like that, but it is also gives us, one of the signification is real estate, which is ruled by Mars, because we are here, it's like we have borrowed our territory here from Mars, from Mangal. So, think about it. It's his land, it's his territory, and we are here as guests in his abode, in his house. So he can throw us out anytime he wants, So, and that is the significance of Mars Mangal. Okay, so now again, a little bit about the sundials. I found that interesting that the Buddhists have something known as the Kal Chakra, which literally means the wheel of time. Time and again, people in India as well, they have astronomers from Vedic times have been absolutely intrigued about measuring time. And there is no way in ancient times to measure it than the sundials. And now somewhere along the line, we got the astrolabe, and so all the evolution began. And of course, when we talk of time, we are talking of astronomy and methods of calculations, which is what we come to. Jantar Mantar in Jaipur, one of the largest observatory in the world. And it's kind of quite interesting. It's huge. Again, like I said, the ancients were obsessed with figuring out time and eclipses and things like that. If we move forward, this is the beautiful Konark Temple in Orissa in southern India, southwest of the country. And here we see that at some point, this is the point when the sun is the brightest, and that's how they have designed it in such a way that they were able to read the movement of the sun and the Nakshatras where the sun was traversing in. And so in a way, this speaks volumes. Where did they get all this knowledge from? They didn't have any kind of fancy laptops and sort of computers and ephemerises and all, but they still managed to sort of figure out the quality of time. So yeah, again, like I said, it's beyond the purview of our discussion, but I'm going to plow through. But I thought this was interesting. Now, I mentioned earlier at the beginning that we have everywhere in India, growing up, festivals which are mapped to the Panchang, or the limbs of time. Now, this is Lord Rama. He was born on Navami, which is one of the limbs of Panchanga. Now, Lord Rama is associated, he is the sun avatar. That is, he had an exalted sun in the nakshatra of Ashwini. So that particular nakshatra, as we will see, which is the one of the limbs of time, is very important because he was one of the avatars who came to rescue the Vedas. He put an end to a lot of the miseries, and he had many wars fought and things like that. And we will come to his tithi. So every year, Ram Navami is celebrated. Now, what is interesting is Navami is actually a tithi, which is nothing but the phase of the moon. The sun-moon angle is called the tithi. And Navami is nothing but a tithi. So what is remarkable is after all these, hundreds and thousands of years, we still celebrate Ram Navami. And it is mapped here. I have shown you Ram Navami here. April 21st, 2021 is falling on a Wednesday. So essentially, the sun-moon interplay is what gives us the Navami, the tithi of Navami, which is the 9th phase of the sun and the moon. And so you see, this is all the list here. You can get it. The solar new year is again, so the planets is a very intricate part of the Indian psyche because everything is centered around it. And that's why it's like, unlike Western astrology, where we actually have to kind of go to separately to a school, here the significations of Jyotish or all the planets is ingrained in everyday life, which is what I wanted to highlight.
Which is just so beautiful and enduring. And it's not this idea of, you're special and you're different because you know of the planets. It's like you should know where you live and where you come from, which I think is gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. So here again, this is Mahashivratri. This is around March 11th next year. Shiva was incarnated as Krishna on Krishna Chaturdati is one of the key times when he got, it is said he wedded Sati, or rather Durga. There are various sort of, kind of tamed down versions of it. Some of them, kind of made up, some of them not. But essentially, Krishna Chaturdashi is one of the tithis or the phases of the sun and the moon. And he was it's mapped to Lord Shiva. And that's why we celebrate Mahashivratri, which is a huge, huge festival in India. It's called the hellish tithi or the hellish, as we will see as we go along. But I just thought, now this is what a typical Panchang looks like. As you see, we are 10th of Tuesday, 10th. And here are some of the yogas, and I will come to what, the moon sign, sun sign. So people always refer to it. Everybody in India, they always have this there are little booklets printed and things like that. We always refer to it, Now, the sun and the moon are the most striking objects in the sky. And the whole of Panchang is based on the movement of the sun and the moon, literally, nothing else. And as sun moves, it covers 30 days approximately, which is akin to the 30 degrees of the zodiac. And the moon has gone around the zodiac and caught up with the sun. So between the two conjunctions, the moon has traveled an angular distance of 390. That is between the 30 degrees conjunction plus the 360, the whole of the zodiac in a month. And that is what gives us the tithi, between the two consecutive sun and moon conjunctions. And tithi, as we will see, this is what kind of is the bare bones fundamentals on which the Panchanga rests upon. The Panch is the 5. These are the 5 limbs of time. And the anga is nothing but the areas or the limbs or whatever you can call. Now, the very first one is the vara, that is the day of the week that you're born in, which is gives you your fire. That planet which is mapped to the day of the week you're born in, it is your life force. It acts like the sun. The Tithi, or the second one, is the solar lunar angle, which is nothing but the phase of the moon. Everything to do with marital relationships, long-term relating patterns, passions, love life, everything, what we desire, it all comes under the Tithi. And the Karana is nothing but half a Tithi in calculation. We won't go too much into the calculations. We'll go into the meaning and the import of it. Activity to sustain us, work in society, achievements. What are we meant to do? Why have we come here? To do what? What you're doing is going to be very different to what I'm doing, because my placement of Karana, which rules a particular planet, is going to be very different to it. And this is what will give me my achievement. Once I complete this work, my soul will have inner satisfaction, and then I can exit the planet. Otherwise, what's the point of me just hanging out here? Then I'm going to be gone again.
No hanging out. Do the work.
Yeah, do the work. Exactly. But in order to sustain all this, what do we need? We need the nakshatras. We need the air to breathe. We need to be healthy. There's no point if we are bedridden with COVID, and we can't tell person who's bedridden with COVID or who's ailing that, hey, why don't you start a kind of a new project? It's like, hello.
Mm-hmm.
So we need the nakshatras, or the moon constellations that our moon is in, the nakshatra our moon is in, on our side to work for our health and well-being, so that it can prolong our longevity. So we can do all the top 3 things.
Yeah.
And then the yoga, or the combination, oops, it's cut off now, gives us the general relationships. It's kind of like whom we hang out with, who's our satsang. Some people like to hang out with, all kinds of riffraff. Some people are heavily spiritual. They will only hang out with, people of a certain ilk. So this combination is vital, because ultimately, if you tell me who your core 5 to 6 friends are for life, I will be able to predict how you are going to turn out. Mm-hmm. That is the power of this combination. So, yeah. Now here, each of the varas, or the limbs, the vara, or the day of the week, gives us the 7 planets, and it's based on the 7 weekdays. And the Surya, or the fire element, is its force, its life force. And it's obvious because it has to do with fire, our life energy. The Tithi, the sun moon angle, is Jala, that is its water element. It has 8 planets mapped to it, 15 in the bright half and the 15 in the dark half. That is, the waxing phase and the waning phase. We have very clear demarcations. People born on the waxing phase and the waning phase, there's a specific significance. And the overseer, or the goddess overseeing this, is Durga. So if you have a huge problem, you have to, get on Durga mantras, or chants of Durga, or seed sounds of Durga, to bring it out and help you, sort of assuage your negativity in this arena. Karana, or the Prithvi element, is nothing but the earth one, everything to do with material existence, wanting more things. And they are denoting there are 11 different Karana types denoting the Ekadashi Rudras. They are nothing but help us from getting destroyed completely, the Ekadashi Rudras, So if it's like keeping the Mars at bay. It's like, wait, I have work to do. Don't take me off the planet yet. you know. So yeah, so an activity to sustain us, what we are born to work for, that is all under the domain of Karana, of the Prithvi, or which is nothing but the earthly element. um, and the nakshatras are our air element, which gives us our longevity. Every breath we take is about the air element. Without air, which is Vayu, which is the presiding deity, is Rudra, we will all die, you know. So we have to be able to, our body will disintegrate. That's where the beauty of the nakshatras comes into play. And the yoga or the combination is, again, it's to do with our social circles, as I mentioned earlier, spiritual realms, what we are, whose company we keep on a deep level, whom we feel hugely connected to. In a way, we are all connected. What affects me affects you. But if I'm particularly very close to you, then you may be, on another continent. But if you are going through some kind of a painful, traumatic experience, I'm going to feel it. And that is what the yoga or the combination gives you. So let's get started with the planets of the week. I will whiz through. Do we have time?
Yep. So we're just coming at the hour. And so we have about 30-ish minutes we can go.
Okay. So here we have the 7 planets. Now, what's interesting is in the Indian Puranas, this is a picture of the Surya, which is the sun god. And each of the signs in Vedic get mapped to a particular Surya Aditya. Surya is also called, each of he takes in a different form of Surya. Surya is nothing but the sun god, but he takes in a different form for each of the 12 Vedic sun signs. And guess what? He is always driven by 7 horses, which are depicting the 7 days of the week. And here we are, the sun also rules, is the overseer of all the seasons. So each of the seasons, each planet, the 5 planets get the 5 seasons, which is interesting, isn't it? It's kind of giving, like, for example, okay, Mangala is Mars. Its season is the summer. And that's why you will, Jyotish comes under the domain of Mangala, which is Mars. That's why there's always a, nitpicking and fighting, and, wherever there is summer season, everything is increased. You would not want to get married in a summer season, ideally. One would not want to, because there's so much of fighting. People, there's high heat. If you go towards the equator side, it's like, oh my God, it's boiling. It's like only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun, So it's so hot. So that's Mars is ruled by the summer season. And that's why, and Jyotish and astrology all fall under the domain of the summer season. And that's why there's always kind of so much of like competitiveness and infighting and all that, because it's because of this reason. And similarly, ideally, we would want to get married during the in this season, because everything is beautiful in Vasant Ritu. But there's also a flip side to it. We don't want to get married in this season either, because there's too much of, Shukra, too much of Venus involved. So everything has a flip side to it, as we can see, so moving along, so each of the planets, like in India, these are the names of all the weekdays. Ravivara is Sunday. Literally, Ravi in Sanskrit means the sun. Somvar in Sanskrit, Vara is Va, it's split into 2, like 2 words. Vasar, which is to do with light, and Ra is like the sun god. So obviously, everything is mapped to the sun or the energy levels, And so people who are born on a Sunday, they have huge amount of energy levels, they're kind of like going around, they have their health is all right, provided there's a caveat, provided the sun in your chart is not absolutely debilitated.
Sure.
Or those things will apply. So that is the importance of seeing this. Then Mangalwar is nothing but Mangal, which is nothing but Mars, and it's Tuesday. Wednesday is Budhawar, which is Wednesday, which is ruler is Mercury. Brihaspativar is Brihaspati and Vara, which is Jupiter's day, Thursday. And Shukrawar is Friday, which is Venus's day. And Shaniwar is Saturday, which is Saturn's day. And these are the weekday orders. Now, another interesting thing is that unlike the calendar, the Hindu calendar always begins with a Sunday, by the way, because the sun is the life giver here. He is the sky father. He is our everything. So that's kind of, unlike starting on a Monday, which is not recommended, yeah.
Yeah, that's why my life starts. I'm a Sunday to Saturday kind of girl.
Yes, perfect. That is the way it should be, because Sunday is you'll get a lot of work done on a Sunday. And Saturday is when you spend time. It's Saturn's day. You want to spend time cleaning. You want to chill. You want to just kind of relax, figure out how many vitamins you've got left. That kind of a thing. How many oils you've got. Do you need replenish of certain oils? Yeah. Okay. So, now this is very relevant when it comes to electional charts, marriage charts, moving in with someone to live in. We want to do it on Mondays or Fridays because it's Venus, or Thursdays because it's Jupiter, the greatest benefit. Or, these days are beautiful. Or even Wednesdays for that matter. I've missed out Wednesdays. But difficult renovation to a property or moving house, which is very stressful, we want to do it on a Saturday or a Tuesday. But then Tuesday is a problem because it's ruled by Mars. We'll start fighting there. So anyway, so here's some bits. I don't want to go too much into it. I'm sure people can whisk through it, or I can send you my presentation if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the traits of people born on Ravivar, and this is Somvar and Mangalwar. Mangalwar is cruel, focused. These are like people born on these days will have to some extent these traits, People born on Budhwar, Wednesday, the worshipping the devas for good speech because it's Mercury ruled. So Mercury is kind of, all about communication is the key with Mercury. They are dexterous in their in arts and crafts and appreciates and virtues and merits. Then the birth on Thursday, and they have a lot of responsibility. People born on a Thursday have huge amount of responsibilities, it's very beautiful day to be born on. They have good virtues and they are being celebrated. So this is kind of the positive aspect of being born on a Thursday. Friday is all about wealth. Pushti, Pushti is nothing but wealth, endowed with corn, lands, wealth, beloved of all, lustful mind. I think this is coming from ancient texts, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt here. And again, they have a bluish black curly hair. Again, this is kind of a fun read. Now, people born on a Saturday, longevity is a big thing.
Sure.
It's because Saturn is all about longevity, because it is a Vayu Tattva. The air element is very strong, very, very strong. Because Shani or Saturn rules the Vayu Tattva, the air element. So hence that becomes big into play. They'll always have some creaky bones, or, kind of like, oh my God, I'm not feeling well. Oh, I've broken my foot, and, that kind of stuff, So that's kind of like a little bit of a theme with people born on a Saturday. Now we come to the number 2, the phase of the moon, sun and the moon angle. Now, again, I don't want to go too much on the maths of it, but suffice to say that a tithi, or the phase of the moon, is 12 degrees of angle between the luminaries. So it changes every 12 degrees, Now let's see how that works. So here is some of the different phases of the moon, the waxing phase, and this is like the Western, what we know, to be what we are familiar with. But the Indian version is much the same. This is from my guru, this chart. I love this chart. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, we call it, now there is a nomenclature here. That is, the waxing phase is called the Shukla Paksha, and the waning phase is called the Krishna Paksha. Krishna is because Lord Krishna was born in this phase, the waning phase, and Shukla is the bright half. It's reversed here. It should be the colors are a bit, but that is how it is. So this is all getting brighter and brighter. The power of the moon here is very strong, while the power of the moon, as it closing on towards the new moon, it's very diminished. That is a very unlike the Western, where we say that the new moon is fantastic. Well, actually it is not. And I will come to it here. I will, in the next slide, we will come to that. We find that the Shukla Paksha, or bright half, is sun is giving light to the moon. And so it is beautiful. These people born on the waxing, or the bright half, are basically, they are receiving, they have long life. This is generally, okay. It's not that now, come running after me if someone gets, it's long life, but hey, they've got a short life. So there are other factors come into play as well. And they are of good disposition, character, gets happiness from wife, son. So these are the characteristics of someone born with the moon in the waxing phase, or the Shukla Paksh. And the Krishna Paksh is someone who's born in the waning, the dark half. And these people have to focus more on the spiritual side of things, more on their ancestors. What is the karmic remit coming from them? The Pitris, the forefathers. So all that is very strong for people born under the waning cycle of the moon. Now, here, I'll come to, now this is what a typical Panchang looks like. As you can see, there's a Tithi, and different tithis for today, and we have the moon sign, nakshatra. So this is a very commonly used. I just thought I will put it up for today's thing. Again, we have a monthly Panchang, and often a lot of the remedies come from there. So this is kind of quite important. Now here, I have to put a note about the Amavasya, or the born in the new moon. This is where the moon has completely lost its light. Mm-hmm. So there are 3 placements where the moon is diabolical. And these people have a great karma this lifetime to achieve. As in, they have a lot of, they will have suffering. They will have to go through some kind of suffering. But to come out of the other side, they have to come to Kali, surrender to goddess Kali. And the cream bija, or the seed sound for Kali, is a cream. So cream, 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 Kalike Swaha is the main mantra for people born under Amavasya. That is the new moon. That means, let me just flip back a bit to explain what I mean. So
Well, it's interesting because when I look at a new moon phase person as they're born, one of the reads that I have on that is your job while you're here is to get yourself into the world and out of that dark space, to literally pull yourself and to be seen.
But it's exactly the opposite here. Now let's see. I have to tell you this. It's very vital. K14, which is the waning cycle, which is the 14th tithi. Then comes the Amavasya, which is the absolute darkness. And when the moon is like closing in onto the sun, and there is a conjunction, that's when we have the Amavasya. So these three are diabolical, but they are a percentage. The first part of the K14, when it's just closing on to Amavasya, the K14 tithi, is not so bad, the first part. But the rest of the parts, they are called hellish hellish Chaturdashi. That is the name in the Indian context, because it literally is hell. These people will have to come to Kali, have to come to Lord Shiva for getting themselves out of this suffering. And Amavasya, the moon has lost its light. How can anything which is like the luminaries are the givers of everything for us? So if one of the luminaries has gone in complete darkness, when you look up under a new moon or no moon, there is no moon in the night. It's dark. It's like Rahu. It's like, everything, all the creepy crawlies are crawling in. You can't see, it's pitch dark. There is no knowledge. It's you're engulfed in darkness, literally, and so that is an awful state to be in. And again, Amavasya, and I'm not scaring or anything, I'm saying these are the views of the ancient sages, and they knew what kind of karma was cut out for these people and what paths they should go on. And one of the deep paths is that you have to contemplate and go within when it is no moon, and literally try to come out of it through meditation, mantra, chants, and all that. That's why it is said, like, eclipse times is a brilliant time for meditation, but it is not a brilliant time for starting something new. Solar eclipse is a worst time. You would not want to do anything on a solar eclipse, crying out loud, make any major decisions. No way. You want to sit at home and meditate, just calm yourself down and do nothing and see where it leads. Because that will lead, and just do a little bit of sound meditation and mantra chants, and that will help a lot. But that is the ethos behind it. So I don't mean to really scare everyone. Sorry, that wasn't the idea.
These are concepts, though, as even I continue to study in my own practice with things like the solar eclipse. It's not. Plant your seeds of intention quite quietly. But let's not launch that yet. That energy is not ready for your full presence yet.
No, it's very, very scary, that energy there. And so again, people can read on it that Kali is also called the Jeshtha, which means the preeminent, more excellent, the eldest one. And that's synonymous with the goddess that came before others, creating the womb of time. And so it's a dark moon, the Kali energy. There is no way out. As you can see, this is a fierce. She's got a skull in one hand and a sickle in the other. She's, on foot on Lord Shiva's chest. She's on a war path there. Don't mess with her. So, and only she will be able to take you out into any kind of suffering you have. And her bija or her seed sound is cream. Her time is the no moon or eclipse times, the lunar eclipse, or very tough times of when the moon has no light. That's when she comes into kind of like gets absolutely activated. Anyway, so each of these tithis rule a planet. Again, we can read on that. Now, there's another diabolical tithi, which is kind of quite tricky, which is the Ekadashi. Again, there is a lot of anger associations with it. fasting on that day. Now, one of the big remedies is fasting, on these diabolical tithis. So sixth tithi is fasting is recommended, and as well as the eighth tithi and the 11th one, because it's ruled by Mars. You see, it's ruled by Mars, so that's kind of tricky. Anyway, here is some of the degrees and the angles which I have given, which people can kind of, if they want to calculate their own. It's quite simple, really, but the softwares will give you, on my website, there is a free software. They can easily get all the Panchang details. They just have to put their data in, absolutely free, and you will get an idea of what tithi you are in, what phase you are in. Now, the beauty of this is that no matter what, if you want to improve your relation, because bear in mind, tithi is all about relationships. It's our jala, it's our water. You want to improve relationships, you want to get married, you want a boyfriend, find the tithi lord. Find that planet, figure out what that planet is up to in your chart. Find that planet in relationship with, vis-a-vis your fourth house. Okay, or and as well as the fourth lord. So for example, I was born under I was born under Chaturdashi, the Shukla, the waxing phase. Okay, and my Isha is my Devta is Isha or Lord Shiva, and my planet is Venus, and my Venus is in the fifth house in exaltation. So, so relationships are, but because my, and it's from the second house, from my Venus is in the fifth house. So, and my Venus is with Saturn, which is the fourth lord, So that means there's a lot of financial well-being that will come from a partner, but equally, because it is with Saturn, it's a little bit afflicted too. So, you have to factor in all these things. So it's like I said, one thing doesn't make up a story, but I'll tell you one thing. If you want a relationship, these are the devtas you have to go for, and they will at least have a picture of them. No matter what, at least have a picture, and that will help you a lot. If you are born under Chaturthi, have a picture of Ganesh, by your desk. It's not going to kill you, Who knows what things may open up,
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are again. The devtas in the different sort of for afflictions. There are these devtas as well for specific afflictions whom we need to resort to for well-being, and these are the mantras which you can make up given the. So, for example, if you are born in Chaturthi, Hom Yamai Swaha, or Hom or Panchami, which is the Devta for removing afflictions, is Chandra. So Hom Chandrai Swaha. So all these things you can do, if anyone needs any help, they can get in touch with me.
Brilliant.
So again, these are the various, now this is interesting. All these phases of the moon are clubbed into, kind of the 5 great elements, So people born under Nanda, they're quite, if you're born on a Friday, and if your tithi is the 1st or the 6th or the 11th, it's very auspicious. So similarly, these tithis, if they line up in a certain way, it is highly auspicious. Now, please bear in mind that when we do and elect a chart, for like whatever activity, depending on, we often refer to these things, and they play a huge role, huge role in figuring out where it is and, what's happening during the day, what day of the week, what hour of the day as well, that is important. So if you want to send an email to your boss, you want to do it in an hour of the day when your 10th lord is activated. Who's the ruler of your 10th house? That's the time. If it is Mercury, you want to send it in the hour of Mercury, preferably on a Wednesday. So those things are sort of quite vital. Now, this, as we will see a few example charts, I'm going to whiz through, but this when these are diabolical, when these line up on a Sunday, the 12th Tithi or the 4th, the Chaturthi or the Dwadashi, then these get really diabolical. And same on a Monday, Shashti or Ekadashi. Ekadashi has got a very bad reputation, as is Shashti. They are fierce for fighting. They are anyway fierce. Never mind if it's on a Monday. They are unbelievably fierce. So if you're born under these, well, you need some kind of remedy. And if you're born on a Monday and under these, whoa, you're going to get scorched. There's going to be toxins. Well, okay, I don't want to scare people away, but this is coming from the ancient texts. We'll see an example. Now, this I'm going to whiz past. What is the significance of it? It's a fun read. It's a lot of, it's like a little cookbook style. Oh, I'm born on a 5th one. What lies ahead for me? So I've just highlighted that some of the negativities of the 6th one and the 11th one. Ashtami is ruled by Rahu, the north node of the moon. So it can get very diabolical and there can be a lot of darkness. Now we come to the Nakshatras. Again, the Nakshatras is a vast topic, but suffice to say, let's go skip to the charts, because this is not, this can't be covered in a day, but this is a very important limb. The Nakshatras is now, for example, Stormy. Your nakshatra, I checked, I have your chart, which we will do. Your nakshatra is in Hasta, which is ruled by the sun. It's in Virgo. So basically, your moon is very, very strong in the 2nd house, but it's with Saturn and Mars and a retrograde Mars. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know that. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. So essentially, when you are born in Hasta, Hasta is a beautiful nakshatra. Each nakshatra has a very strong significance. I did a course some time ago with the Scottish Association on the nakshatras, a whole day workshop. Try getting the recordings of that. So Hasta's deity is Savitur, who's the giver of the Gayatri mantra. She's the sun. It's a beautiful constellation. And the ruler of Hasta is the moon himself. So there's the ruler, then there is, because it's in Virgo, then that it's got Mercury as its other ruler, and its presiding deity, which is associated with Hasta, is Savitur, which is the sun god himself. That is absolutely beautiful. They have the power to have everything in the palm of their hand. So hand is a big significance for them, huge significance. Yeah. Okay. So these are all the various nakshatras which people get, and the sounds associated. So for example, let's go for Hasta. Let's see what the sound Hasta is here. It's ruled by the moon. And I don't know what pada, we'll have to check what quarter you're in, but these are the sounds that will be very beneficial for you. Pu, sha, na, tha, tha. Sorry, pu, sha, na, tha. So these, if you start some business or something with the beginning letter of these sounds, that will be very flourishing. So anyway, carrying forward, now Karana is that planet. It's half a lunar day, that is half a tithi. And basically it gives you all the material, what you are born to do. And depending on what planet that Karana is ruling, what that planet is up to in your chart. And we will come to that. So these are the various Karanas associated. I'm going to give you a little example. We'll do 2-3 charts and then we'll take some, if you have any questions. So here, I don't know how many people know Peter Sutcliffe. A lot of people. He's like the Jack the Ripper. Mm-hmm. He's spending time in, prison here in the UK. he's kind of quite diabolical character, a serial killer. Yeah. I mean, he's quite famous. You must have heard of Jack the Ripper, sort of, Yorkshire Ripper. I think, styled himself on, I don't know if he styled himself on, I don't know. I haven't researched much. All I is looked at his chart. He was born on a Sunday, and he was born under the Tithi of Chaturthi, which is the fourth phase, which is ruled by Mercury. And guess what? Here, Sunday and the fourth, that's wish, that's poison unleashed on the planet. And he was quoted. This is a picture of him in prison, and he was basically while incarceration just some time ago, he said he thinks he's going to go to heaven because he's got COVID, or he thinks if he gets COVID, he's going to go to heaven, which is kind of really interesting. So you see, these are the kind of things that come about. The Mercury is in the 7th house. It's in a little bit of it's combust. Any planet which is too close to the sun is completely combust. So in terms of his relational abilities, it's really diabolical. And plus in the 7th house, Scorpio rising, 7th house sun, and Mercury and Rahu, the north node of the moon, it's a curse. It's a problem house. Anyway, so this is some of the ways we see. Then a little bit of the Frida
Kahlo.
Yeah, Frida Kahlo. Don't Bill, I really like some of her stuff. Now, she's born again. She's born on a Saturday. Now, remember what I told you about Saturday, that people born on a Saturday, there's some bones broken, something complaining about, but actually, they do have some kind of, little bit of thing. That's their karma, you see. They have to work out some kind of health issues, something like that. Now here, the Saturn is in the 12th house in Pisces from her rising sign. Sorry, it's in the 8th house. I beg your pardon. It's in the 8th house from the rising sign. So if you have that means the fire has gone in the 8th house. Your body, your energy levels, your entire fire, your entire energy, the source of your energy has been pitched into like darkness of the 8th house, because 8th house is like a water house. It's the house of Scorpio. It's diabolical. And we all know about her, famous health issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like she was 16 or something on a bus, and a whole rod went into her, and then it got progressively worse throughout her lifetime, and her tumultuous relationship with her husband, I forget his name.
Yeah.
Now here, the Karana, let's focus on our work. Karana is Kaulava, which is the lord of that is Mars. And Mars is also retrograde for her, but it's in the 5th house. That's a beautiful house. From her rising sign, it's in the 5th house. So it gets a lot of take. And we know she's an institution in terms of her art. She's absolutely phenomenal. Her body of work in the art world, absolutely beautiful. So you see, that is what she was through her suffering. Great art came out of that. This is her self-portrait. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. So you see, there is always some kind of a silver lining. These planetary phases of the moon and the sun, interplay of the sun and the moon, they never fail you. They always tell a predominant theme of your life. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, now we come to the last one, Phil Spector, great musician or music sort of, he was in the music business, and then he started shooting everybody around him. He is born under first first tithi. Sorry, he's born under on a Tuesday under Prathama, on the sun. Now that again is diabolical. There's too much fire, and his Mars is in the 11th house in Pisces with Jupiter. Now any planet in the any malefic or any planet in the 11th house or the 6th house is going to give you a lot of suffering, and that is what happened to him. Look what happened. This is how he looks like now. So that is a lot of suffering, but he did some good work, at least initially. He made a lot of musicians and things like that. His Karana Lord, his work related stuff is the moon, and that's in the 2nd house, but it's in Ardra, the nakshatra of Ardra, which is ruler is Rahu, which is in the 6th house. Punishment, he will get absolutely punished, very, very punishing in the 6th house. So there is a whole story that we have to weave together. So it's a little bit complex, but as I said, this is not easy. Yeah.
Not easy.
Yeah.
Not
so
easy.
These are, the last one is the Nitya Yogas. Again, we can whisk through. It's a cookbook style. You can all read about it. And this is your chart, Stormy.
Yay.
Hey, we reached it. You're born on a Tuesday.
I know. All the Tuesday.
I know. Lovely. Now, what's interesting is that people born on a Tuesday, occasionally life can pose them as a lot of struggle. There's a lot of juggling going on. Everything becomes a little bit of a struggle. But the beauty is, the redeeming feature here is you're born under the aura or the hour of Jupiter, which is beautiful. Jupiter is in the 3rd house of yours. Beautiful. It's retrograde. That means it will give results of the opposite sign of the sun, the 9th house. That's your way out. And your Karana, let's see your Karana. It's Balava, which is moon. The moon is in the 2nd house. Okay, the moon is in the fixed star or nakshatra of Hasta, but it is with Saturn and Mars. It's sandwiched between. It's a little bit of an afflicted moon, I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
But that's your challenge this lifetime.
Yeah.
It is your challenge. You're a Leo rising. So relationships are, going to be a little bit mercurial in nature, but the Mercury is very strong. It's a benefic, single most benefic in the 10th house. That is your work literally helps you to manage all this cursed stuff. The more you work, the better you will feel about burning your karma. Regards that moon. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
And the other thing is, I have to tell you also this, that moon in the 2nd house, and also it's with Atmakaraka. That is, it's the planet with the highest degrees. Ignore the signs. The planet with the highest degree is the king of your chart. Saturn is the king of your chart, and it's retrograde, and Mars retrograde, and Jupiter retrograde. Oh my God, that's a lot of karma coming from previous lifetime, which you have to resolve this lifetime.
When I clean up mode.
When the Atmakaraka is retrograde and Saturn, that means this lifetime, you have to be the icon for everybody to come to you. And even though a lot of people will project their negativity, their gloominess, their inner darkness onto you, Stormy, they will all do that. That is the work. That is the kind of like the karmic script of somebody who's got Saturn as their king of their chart, the Atma Karaka. Everybody will come and dump their problems on you, but you have to stay strong and say, okay, you know what? That's not mine. I need to draw a boundary. This is mine. I'm going to keep my focus and connect to that focus. That's a beautiful Kalika yoga as well, Sun, Saturn, and Moon. But this will need a little bit of, meditation and a little bit of appeasing the deity.
Absolutely. And I can tell you there was a point in my world where I finally just put it all down and I said, Saturn, what are you asking from me? And my life changed completely.
Exactly. The surrender.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. And the other positive thing about that is that the moon is aspecting that Mercury. It's a beautiful aspect. It's in a trine aspect in your world, that Mercury in the 10th house. And often that will mean that through your work, but you will also encounter problems with that. Every time you say something, people will misunderstand you. Every time you don't say something, they will be like, oh, she didn't say that. Right? Has that been your experience?
Yes, it has, especially recently. That has been a big situation. So yeah, I am heavy into the Mercury work and aware of what comes out of my mouth.
Right, absolutely. And so the solution to that moon with Saturn and Mars in the second house would be take 1 hour off in the evening, maybe, or maybe in the morning, where there's no social media, there's no phone, no laptop, no computer, no ephemeris, nothing, no books, just sit and do nothing. And
I built a siesta into my business 7 years ago. So I have 1 hour in the afternoon that is free of any and everything.
Absolutely, because you have to keep mum. That's your little remedy.
Yes.
But keep mum as in like keep shut. You are not speaking to anyone. No one will speak to you. You will not answer. Because it doesn't count if you're like busy reading and all that.
Shut down, full shutdown mode.
Absolutely. So, Okay. So that's it. Now, I think, do we need to go through this?
Well, we are at time, so we need to get ready to wrap up, actually.
Okay. So there we are towards the end.
Yay. This is beautiful. And a conference, you've got a conference coming up.
Yes, I indeed do. December 4th to December 6th. And all 3 days, it's going to be about, I think, probably like 15 or 14 speakers, quite a few speakers. And the last day, the co-sponsor is Astrology Lodge of London. And so that has got a lot of mixed, like a lot of Western astrology or sort of like a different divination techniques. And also, please come along and see. There are recordings available too.
Absolutely brilliant. And I'll make sure the links are down below the video for you guys as well, if you want to come back and be able to just click right into them and go where you need to go. But beautiful. I have lots of comments in the chat about how beautiful this has been. And to see, I know, isn't that exciting?
Yeah. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Stormy. And lovely. Thank you very much. I hope it wasn't so complex.
No, I think it's a lot of information to take in if you haven't seen it or you have no awareness of it. But nonetheless, as you are going through, it's still so fascinating. And I don't know about everybody out there, but there's a resonance that still happens, I think, even as you're speaking. But one of the things I've also learned is that listening to other languages, especially as they come from India, it's very symbolic. So it's like rhythmic as well. And so it's got an easy somatic tie to the body, so it's very easy to listen to. So I know there's resonance down there in the chat box because people are talking about it. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Hare Ram Krishna.
I have no idea what that means and I love it.
Okay. Doesn't matter.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for showing up today. Hopefully, we gave you something that was absolutely worth the time you took to show up. And I look forward to bringing you more eat and greets this week. We will have Vanessa Montgomery here and Julian Venables will be here on Friday. So I look forward to seeing you then. And hopefully, if you're watching back on the replay, you will leave us your comments and what snacks you brought and questions that you have down below. All right, everyone, we'll see you next time.